It's a pleasure to be with you.
Let's just jump into it. Why does it seem like we're so ill prepared? We're acting like COVID-19 is a never seen before virus and that this is just out of nowhere, surprise, surprise. You know, we had SARS, we had MERS, we've had these types of things before. And in fact, we knew that we were going to be having more of them, yet we were not set up, or it seems like we were completely taken aback that this is happening now and is having, such a profound effect when, if you talk to any epidemiologist or virologist, they knew that this was going to happen.
There is nothing more foreseeable as a public health crisis for, again, a world where we're just living on top of each other's in crowded and polluted cities than a pandemic. And yeah, every academic, every researcher who's looked at this knew this was coming. And in fact, even intelligence agencies, I can tell you firsthand because I used to read the reports, had been planning for pandemics. And yet when we needed it, the system has now failed us. And it has failed us comprehensively. And the thing that I find grotesque about this situation is that now the people who are being asked to sacrifice the most are the people who are in the most precarious positions, who have the least to give. We're constantly being told we're the richest country in the world. But when people start losing their jobs, when rents become difficult to pay because there's no work for any waitress in any restaurant in New York right now, where are our resources? When our hospitals say they need ventilators, where is all this great technology that's being used to surveil everybody, down to the tiniest toenail, when we need it to create things that actually save lives?
In South Korea, which has been successful in at least flattening their curve, the government's been sending text messages to people who have come into contact with people that they know have COVID-19, which means they know who has COVID-19, they know who they're meeting, they know their text message numbers, they know how to get in touch with them.
The Korea Centers for Disease Control and Prevention uses data provided by local telecommunications companies.
Taiwan is doing a mobile fence, so-called, where if they know you're infected, they're going to put a mobile fence around you, and if you leave, you're going to get in trouble if you leave your... It's basically your mobile phone is your new ankle bracelet. We look at what China did, including welding certain doors shut, and we seem to be sort of knee-jerk ad hoc, and we're, culturally we can't do this, yet our numbers are through the roof. So are autocratic regimes better at dealing with things like this than democratic ones?
I don't think so. I mean, there are arguments being made that China can do things that the United States can't. Now, that doesn't mean that what these autocratic countries are doing is actually more effective. There are really only two things that we know to be true. One is that no one knows the true number of infected, because we can only, in the absolute best case, know the confirmed cases of people that we've actually tested. And once you start to layer in this autocratic, or I would argue more authoritarian type of policy structure, what you end up seeing is that instead of policy being guided by science and facts, you begin to see things like information releases becoming political decisions. Now, this is not new. In fact, the Spanish flu around 1918 did not actually originate in Spain. It was actually spreading in World War I through the trenches where everybody was in terrible conditions. But the militaries of the day had imposed restrictions on what the press could report that could impact the war effort. And so Spain, being a neutral country, was publishing what they were actually seeing in their country. And so we just presumed, because they were the only ones that were telling the truth, that it came from them. Now, we're a little further ahead than that today, but that doesn't erase the fact that people in power who see that there is a political advantage to disguising or concealing or massaging or denying numbers may choose to lie about it. It's happened before, and it's almost certainly happening now.
If you're looking at countries like China, which seems to have flattened, how much can we trust that those numbers are actually true?
I don't think we can. Particularly, we see the Chinese government recently working to expel Western journalists at precisely this moment where we need credible, independent reporting from this kind of region. And then there's all of these rumors and initial reports that say things like, the number of urn shipments for burials have gone way up, way beyond what you would expect from the official numbers. And the fact that we cannot get independent verification of the facts gives us reason to doubt the official story. And the reality that we need to accept, which is an uncomfortable reality, is that even in places that are not autocratic regimes, they're going to have a second wave, they're going to have a third wave, they're going to have a fourth wave based on all of the best medical analysis that we have available today. I think I was reading a paper this morning that was from, I think, the Chan School of Public Health at, I think it was Harvard University, that said pumping the brakes is going to have to be the new strategy.
Which means we're at the beginning of, as you say, second, third, fourth waves of this coming. And so all of these measures are going to get more severe. And what then happens to civil liberties, to privacy rights, to democracy? I mean, what are the knock-on effects that you can see?
This is really the central question of this moment in history. What we see is everyone is fearful and hopeless and so worried about today that we have really stopped thinking about what tomorrow will look like as a result of the decisions that we take today. We've seen in countries like Taiwan and South Korea, and spreading also into more Western countries, and of course in the United States where it has begun as well, the tracking and monitoring of the movements of the whole of the human population through the movements of our phones. And it is, I think, something that should raise cause for concern, because when we talk about the applications, and I'm sure we will, they're saying they're using it for contact tracing. This person gets sick. Where did they go? Who may they have come in contact with? Precisely so they can produce these kind of text messages that you describe. On its face, it seems like it might be a good idea. There is, of course, a natural presumed benefit here. And yet, this level of contact tracing, this method of contact tracing, does not really work on a pandemic scale.
We're declaring, various states of emergencies here and there, but these have sweeping powers.
What is being built is the architecture of oppression.